Today on Readus Reviews, I am reviewing motherfucking Wonder Woman! Okay. And the story is basically how you imagined it. Technically taking place after the events of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Diana is in Paris recalling the events that brought her to the world of man to begin with, thus taking us back to her childhood and young adulthood on Themyscira, and arriving to the world of man during World War I to deal with Ares. And since this is in general an origin story, it was kind of what I expected, but I still enjoyed it. And while the movie wasn't predictable from start to finish, the elements that were predictable to me didn't make me want to roll my eyes all the way to the back of my head to see that Plankton was controlling my brain. Now, that's not to say that there weren't elements in this movie that reminded me of other DC movies. There was definitely one element that played on later on in this game that heavily reminded me of Batman Begins. And while I feel that it wasn't added just so it could have a twist in the movie, I feel that it wasn't handled with the same care that Batman Begins handled its twist. And with that, let's talk about some of the characters that stood out to me the most, starting with Diana. Readers, I really enjoyed Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman. As far as her interactions with the Amazons are concerned, I definitely felt that "you're keeping me from my purpose" vibe regarding her interaction with Hippolyta, and regarding her interaction with the world of man and the side characters in it. Regarding her level of concern and her level of compassion, I definitely felt that innocent, sweet Cinnabon warrior aspect of her character. I also like that near the end of the movie, we saw that aspect of her character clash with the more ruthless, brutal side of her character that most of us in the comics know too. Steve Trevor was alright. Now I have to clarify, Chris Pine did a good job as Steve Trevor. And as far as Steve Trevor is concerned in this movie, I'm glad that he had things to do. And this is mostly my personal bias, because in any other form of media that I see Steve Trevor in, I always look at him as a plot device. You know, to be the main excuse to get Diana to leave the island in the first place. I'm glad that he was a bit more fleshed out in this movie, and I would say that he's about a few pegs underneath Nathan Fillion's portrayal of him in the animated movie. I like what they did with Ares, but I wish there was more. Like, I'm glad that they didn't depict him as bloodthirsty or battle-hungry. He had a sense of gravitas and a sense of depth, which segues into one of the problems that I have with this movie. Because the plot demands that Ares be saved until the last act, we don't get enough of him, in my opinion. It sucks because the way he was presented, I really wanted to get inside of his head. I wanted to understand the reason why he was doing the things that he was doing, why he had the opinions that he had, kind of like the same way that we got a chance to get to know Zod on a personal level in Man of Steel. And speaking of cons, while I am glad that this movie established that there are actual gods in the DCEU, and you know, not whatever the fuck Thor is in the MCU, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dislike the role that the Greek gods play in this movie. And that's mostly because they're obviously a very prominent force from what you can see in Ares, and they have a lot of potential in the DCEU. But there are definitely more pros that I have with this movie than cons, one of them being how Diana's origin was done in this movie. It's done in a way that's slightly different than my favorite origin of her in the comic books, but it fits the narrative perfectly. I'm also thankful that the composer found a way to meld her theme that was introduced to us in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice into the soundtrack that was introduced over the course of this movie. Thank fucking God. Because number one, that theme is great. And number two, I am so sick of superhero movies that they just refuse to give a superhero just one prominent theme over the course of their movies. All the side characters were fun. I really enjoyed Etta Candy. And I felt that the movie did a good job simplifying the fact that men ain't shit sometimes. Most of the time. All the time. We fucking suck. Overall, Wonder Woman was good. There was great action, good acting, great banter between characters. And I feel it's a solid flick for those who are fans of the character and for casual moviegoers that has liked the DCEU thus far. I feel that whether it's at full price or at matinee, you should definitely pay to see this in theaters. So with that, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comments section below what you thought of Wonder Woman if you've seen it. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.